Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're learning Masechtas Bava Kama Daf Kuf Yud Zayin. We are going to begin on the bottom of Kuf Tes Zayin Amid Beis by the new Mishnah. Says the Masnisin. Hagozel Sadam Chavero. So someone who steals a field from his friend, Venatula Masikin, and the government confiscated this property. So, first of all, again, you stole land, even though carcass and exelis, but nonetheless, these people, Rashi says, Anosim gazluha min hagazlan. So, these government officials confiscated it from the gazlan. So, what's the status now of the gazlan? So, im makmas medina if it's makmas adina, and Rashi says, diansu arasa diachrini v'hayich. Basically, they take a whole bunch of fields. They took everyone's field. So it basically would have been taken anyway. So then the Gazlan can say, listen, it's Harsha Chalfanecha, it's in front of you. In other words, the Gazlan has no obligation to have to pay him back because it would have been stolen anyway. But it was Makmas Gazlan, which we'll see and think more what exactly that means. Then the Gazlan has to reimburse the Nigzel with a new field. Says the Gemara, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Manditana Tatani Masikin lo Mishtabish. Manditani Masikin lo Mishtabish. Both of those words can be interchangeable in our Mishnah, and there's no mistake. Manditani Masikin lo Mishtabish. One uses that word dichsev b'matzer b'matzoik, which has to do with the ambushing, which is something which an authority figure such as these would fit into that language. And the translation of that is Yachsinenu Saka'a, says Rashi. Salatzal is Arbi Gazlanhu. This is referring to a thief. She'oichel tavuos kol ha'adam. That he goes around and he eats this is arba, actually. It's referring to like a locust, which is a thief, that it eats all the people's crops. So it's the same thing. These people go around and consume everyone's fields. So what does that mean? The Gazlan will be chayav if the Masikin came and took it because of him. So if it's talking about that they only took this land and no one else's, so you could just infer that obviously. It says it says that he can say Harshal Fanecha when everyone's land was taken, which is mashma. If only this land was taken, then no. Then in fact he would not be able to say Harshal Fanecha. So you don't even need that if that's what it's come to tell us. What's Richa? We're talking about the achve achvuye, that he actually showed him the field. That he says Rashi shelo gazla hu atzmo. He may not have been the one who stole the land. He may not have stolen the land. El shama mebeis hamelech shemavakshin ligzo sadais. He heard that they're going to come and steal fields. Veher lahem tu karkazu shel ploni. Why don't you steal this field? So, even though he didn't actually go and steal the field himself, but since he gave the great advice of stealing someone else, steal that land, so he's responsible. We're talking about a situation that we are talking about that we have the compulsion by an akum. Yamula achve arase v'achve ahu b'hadaihu. And what ended up happening was, he said, show me your fields, and instead he pointed to this person's field. Okay. There's a person who pointed to a bundle of wheat which belonged to the Reish Galusa. Also, so he said, you have to pay for it, because this is the situation like our Mishnah, according to this pshat, that it's Makmas Hagazlan. In other words, it happened, interesting language, it was the Gazlan that caused this to happen. It was Machmas HaGazlan. The Gazlan is the one who caused this land to be stolen. So therefore the Reish Galusa will be reimbursed for this person who had advised this person to take from there. So Rav Yosef, Achori de Rav Huna Bar Chia, so he was sitting there, but Yosef Rav Huna Bar Chia Kamed Rav Nachman, so these great sages that were sitting next to each other engage in this conversation. Amalei Rav Huna Bar Chia Rav Nachman, he asked him a question, he said, Dino o Kanasa, the fact that you're making him pay back the Reish Galusa for this, is this actually Me'ikar Hadin, or you're just causing a kanas of this person? So I'm like, Masnisani, it's our Mishnah. Did not imach masagazan chayv l'hamad loy sada. V'kimna di'achli. We're talking about a situation where he pointed and said, this is what you should take. And therefore, since he made that statement, it's not l'chayra. It's not a kanas. It's telling you that you're chayiv alt din. Busted enough, after left Amalei Rav Yosef Rav Huna Bar Chia, my nafkalach minai. So it's like, what's the real difference? Whether it's Ikar Hadin or it's a Kanas. Either way, he's going to be Chayiv. It says the Gemara in Kuf Yud Zanim and Alf, if it's Idin or Kanas, it's only Idin, Gamrin Minei. If it's a din that you actually have to pay, then we can derive from this other situations. In Kanas or Gamrin Minei. And if not, then not. And the truth is, you could maybe have said whether you're able to do this in Bavel. Says Rashi, if it's a kanas, hu de kansi Rav Nachman mishum de rogel hoyibakach. So it's very possible it's only in this situation, but not necessarily in all other types of situations. We can say that this is a unique case. We're not tamru dimi kanasa loy gamrinan. How do you know in general that you cannot learn out when there's a kanas that you can't derive from it to all other cases? Desanya. B'rishaynam, originally, hayu oimrim hamatami v'hamanasich. When it comes to someone who is matame, things which are pure, his friend's pure produce, and he makes them tame, or he makes his wine into yain nesach, which is for the sake of avodah zarah. Now, even though the truth is, this is what's called a hezek she'eno nikar. It's not recognizable because it looks like the exact same fruit. It looks identical. The wine hasn't changed in its physical appearance. But the reality is you did damage because now it's yain nesach, now it's tameh. So chazu loimer, so b'rishayna hayama tama manasich, chazu loimer afa medameya. And then we said also if you're medameya, if you mix chulin and truma together, which still has value, it's just that because now there is truma in it, you can't sell it to a non-kohen, so therefore, based on supply and demand, you have smaller clientele, you only have kohanim that could buy this, so therefore, because you don't have as many people to buy it, so the price is going to go down, but it's not that it has no value, but it's diminished in value. Chazru in lo chazru lo. So, my time lamishum de kanasahu no kanasahu gamrinamine. So the question must be that the reason why we originally said the din of punishment or chiyuv is only matama manasich, but maybe it's madame, and no, actually, maybe not. So why was there this hesitation? Because maybe you cannot learn, because maybe the reason why it's a hezek shenu nikar is really shouldn't be chayiv, but we kanas you, it's a kanas, so maybe also over here, where it's low. Mikar Savri will have some Maruba Chashul, have some Mu'aloi Chashul. The Slave Savri was have some Mu'at Nami Chashu. Again, there's a difference. In the first two cases, Matam and Manasech, you're causing a huge financial loss. So maybe in that situation, we kanas. But you could actually learn out kanas from kanas. However, in this situation, by Medamen, here it's only Hefsid Mu'at. So maybe you wouldn't kanas in that situation. So maybe we do kanas. Okay, so therefore it's not a raya. But it's interesting because you should maybe say, that even the fact that you can even have a havamina to say that yes, you can, obviously shows that you can learn out from kanas. Okay. Tais discusses this a little bit. Fine. Eini v'hatani avud Rabbi Avin, but avud Rabbi Avin learns the Rishayna haYomer Madameya. Actually, the Madameya was in the mix, so to speak, first. Chazru loimer, then afterwards they were thinking hamanasech. Now, chazru in lo, chazru lo. My tal mishum do gamrina mikanasa. So you can't say the same thing about, one's hefsid meruba, hefsid mu'it, because the original takana, if you will, was including medameya, which is only hefsid mu'it together with tameh. Well, mikara savri k'Rabbi Avin. Well, saif savri k'Rabbi Yirmiyah. Originally we thought like Rav Avin. You know who Rav Avin is, right? And then eventually held like Rav Yirmiyah. Okay? Don't worry, we're going to see them now. Mikara savri k'Rabbi Avin, the Emor Rav Avin, zark chetz mitchilos arba saif arba. Let's say a person shoots an arrow on Shabbos. Otherwise, why would we care how far it goes? For Amos, in which then itself is the minimum amount to be chayiv on Shabbos and Rosh Hashanah. And Vikara Shirayin Bili Chasai. And while it was in motion, it ripped a silk garment. Potter. So in that situation, you're potter, you're going to be killed. So don't think you're too off the hook. You're potter from paying for that damage. Because there's a concept of Kima Barabina, that if this incident of ripping the garment took place during the time of the Chiyuv Misa, so then you're going to be potter from paying. Because it happened at the same time. Shaharya Kira Tzarech Hanachahi. Because in order to be chayiv, you need to do both. You have to have an akira and a hanacha. And therefore, while it was in motion, u'mechayiv b'nafsho, and therefore you're chayiv misa. Okay. So Rashi, nimsa ma'isa Shabbos or ma'isa akira boin ke'echad. All happen at the same time. V'lo amrin and mishas akira chayiv mamoin. We don't say that at the time of akira you're already chayiv. U'mechayiv na'asha lo haviyad shas hanachas chetz. That you're only chayiv for Chil Shabbos once the arrow lands. V'achanami hagvos yayin serch nisachu. The lifting up the wine, you did it for the sake of yain nesach. V'tashlumin v'chiyav misa de'avodah zarah boin ke'echad. So it's interesting. The reason why we originally thought not to include yain nesach is because yain nesach is an isser in which you be chayiv misa for, because it's avodah zara, and therefore because of that, the question is: are you chayiv to pay? So we originally said you're not chayiv to pay because it's just like the Shabbos situation that if you rip the garment in the process of shooting an arrow, so you're going to be potter from paying for the damages of the silk garment. So too you're going to be potter for the wine. Therefore, that's the reason why you're chayiv. You're going to be chayiv nefesh. You're going to be potter when we're not going to include you being chayiv to pay for the wine. Well, besides Rabbi Yirmi, then Rabbi Yirmi mishas hagba kanya. Actually, it was the time of lifting it up is when you were koyin it, and therefore chayiv le mamoin. You're chayiv mamoin right away. V'chayiv benafshlei habiyad shas nisuch. So therefore, it's like according to him, also until the arrow lands, you're not chayiv misa for another couple of seconds because you need to have the hanacha take place. So since the hanacha has not yet taken place, you were first chayiv for the garment before you were chayiv misa. So you would actually be chayiv both. So too over here, that's the reason why this is included. Question 1. Mas varad yesh leimer de menaseh chayiv v'medameya potter. So he said because of hefsid mu'it. U'masvar di'ishomer de medameya chayiv menasich potter. So let's see how he writes it. Mishum de kimer Rabbi minina v'lezer de hagbat sarach nisuch. Okay, weiter. Rav Huna bar Yehuda ikulabe of Yomi. So Rav Huna bar Yehuda went to the bay of Yomi. Asa kamei de Rav, and they went in front of Rava. This bay of Yomi is just a place. Asa kamei de Rava, and they went in front of Rava. Malay kol masa bol yadcha. Has such an incident taken place? Do you know the answer? So Malay Yisrael she ansuhu oivdi kachavim. If you have a Yisrael that's forcing, having money forced away from him, behera mamin chavero, and he ends up pointing to his friend's money, Bo Yadi, that came to me, v'chayavtiv. So basically, what happened was, instead of him getting his own money taken away, he directed it to someone else, and therefore they went and grabbed his money. You have to return this to the master. So you actually should return this to the, let's say, whatever was taken, because he should actually be pater. If he actually physically picked it up, he would be chayiv. So what are you talking about? Why would you tell me that he's going to be chayiv? We see clearly, even if you direct an Ovid Chachavim, you show him someone else's money, you're pater, because you didn't actually pick up that money and give it to him, so you shouldn't be chayiv. No. If you showed it yourself, then you are going to be chayiv. It's like you picked it up. So therefore, that's your chayiv. Says Rashi, nasam biyad chayiv l'hatzel atzmum b'mamon chaveroi. Since you picked it up, in order to give it to say, here, take this. You're doing it to save your own money, so you're chayiv for having done that. So over here, the fact that you pointed it, it's ki'ilu like you're nasam naisim biyad. Hahu gavra diansu avi chachavim. So you have this person that again was being pressured by Ovi Kachavim, and he had to lose some of his things. The Achvi Achamr Rav Mori Bered Rav Pinchas Bered Rav Chista. Probably not the best person to point to, but they pointed to his wine. So why don't you take this guy's wine instead of my stuff? Armalei Dari the Amte Bahadon Dora. So says Rashi. So go and carry it to the king for me. Ve'amti b'hadaihu, and I'll go with you. So basically, the Chachamim said, okay, you want me to take this guy's wine? You pick it up for me, and you bring it to the king for me. Askami to Rav Ashi patirine, which is pretty unbelievable. He says this guy's still pater, even though he picked it up. Well, what do you mean? Rav Ashi, the fact that you pick it up, you should be chayiv. So why is he saying this guy's pater? That's only the situation that, let's finish this next line. So in this situation, in which he was basically told, this is the wine, right? So it's like the wine was already destroyed. It was like it was already burned. So therefore, it's not like he picked it up at all, and therefore he's not going to be chayav. Says Rashi, that's the only time. That's if you actually physically give it to them, and the Ovi Chachavim doesn't know any better, etc. That's a normal thing. But when we're talking about wine, as soon as this guy this akum would touch it anyway, it would immediately become destroyed. Through Yain Nesach. So therefore, because of that, it is immediately worthless. Esvei Rab Ahavayu Rav Ashi asked a question. I'm a little honest. He's basically said, hand over to me whatever it is. Pakia Amir Zeh, this bundle, Rashi's kesher of grains. Eshkol Navim Zeh, or this cluster of grapes, and you give it to him, chayiv. We still see your chayiv, says Rashi. V'afal gav dekoi akum al gabi hamamoin. Even though he's standing on the money, like he's literally on top of it, so how could you tell me? The only time you're chayiv is if he's not standing over it. But if he's already standing over it, right? He's the ukmi alihim ikara. That's completely, like it's already destroyed because he's already standing over it. So then, what are you talking about? In this situation, and then he's going to touch it and ruin it and burn. It's like destroyed. Again, if it's Nesach, he's going to touch it and ruin it anyway. But we still say you're chayiv anyway. So Achamaskin could go in the koi betray ever nahara. Why are you chayiv in this case? Says Rashi, akum etzadzeh, because the akum was on the other side of the river. If you didn't physically give it to him, Lo matzi anis lemishkle. He wouldn't have been able to have gotten to it. Dekanami de tani hoishit, lo tani tain. Shemamina. Tain just means here, just give it. Hoish means they almost have to stretch. You have to make more of a physical effort to be able to get it to me. And therefore, it's the reason why you're chayiv in that situation, even though let's say he's hovering over it, that you know that it's going to be taken, but nonetheless, the fact he's on the other side of the river, maybe he won't be able to get to it. And the only reason why he was able to get to it is because you stretched out your hand to be able to give it to him. So therefore, that's the reason why you're going to be chayiv in that situation. Okay, question 2. Hamatzel atzah b'mamon chaverai, oy hamatzel acherim b'mamon chaverai, ha'im chayiv. So if you're matzel atzmai, if you're trying to save from mamon chaverai, someone else's money, you're chayiv. Hamatzel acherim b'mamon chaverai potter. Not sure where we saw that, but if you're matzel atzmai mamon chaverai, you're chayiv. That we saw clearly. If you're matzel acherim, you save others with your friend's money. In that situation, you're potter. Maybe we're going to get to that soon. Okay. Question TA 15. I'm not sure if we did this yet. Okay, we didn't do that one yet. Okay, let's just keep going. 2 dots. Ahu shusa. Dahavi minsul betray. So there was this net in which there were 2 people that were arguing over this, and it's a net for catching fish. Each person claimed it was theirs. So one of them came umasra with farhagna and gave it over to the official, to some officer of the malk of the king. You could say, I gave her that over that which was mine, so therefore I didn't do anything wrong. What do you mean? How is he believed? Because it's not clearly his. We're going to put this guy into cherem until he stands in din for what he did. Tivna dechavre. There was this person who had to, I guess, like, point to that which is an item of his friends. So basically, don't involve yourself in this. Don't point to it. So you could point to it, no problem. Yosef Rav Huna committed Rav Shamte Lukoye Mine Kari Rabule Banayach Ulfu Shachvu Baroish Kochutzais Kosov Kitoi Michmar. Kitoi, Rashi says, is Chaya. You're like an ox. You're like a wild animal in a field for doing this. That matoi, just like a wild animal, is that kivan shenafel b'michmar. Once it falls into a net, in marachman alav, there's no possible compassion, says Rashi. The shaper avta de katle. It's fine that it was killed, that you because it was trying to kill, so you can kill him. Av mammon shel Yisrael kivan de nafel b'yam chachavim in marachman alav. So too, when it comes to the money of Yisrael, once it falls into the hands of Kachavim, in Merachman alav, there's no rachmim upon him. Ramu Rav Kahana, ad in until now, Havi Parsoi, we were dealing with the Persians, or it says on the side, Yavanim, Doli Kapti Ashvichas Damim. They weren't makbid on killing. Vahash de Ika Yavane or Parsoi, the Kapti Ashvichas Damim. They are makbid on murder. The Amri Mardin, and they say, rebel, kum sakla ara, the Israel, go and take the land of Israel, v'kabalach, v'kabalach, and accept, the loy tikshu Rabbi Yochanan sheva shnin. So he said that you should go to Rabbi Yochanan, and just don't ask him any questions for 7 years. So basically, this is what Rav Kahana was told to do, in the story that he was required to go and run away. So again, it's because they're in a situation where he had no choice but to run. So Ozil Ashachel Reish Lakish, he found Reish Lakish. The Yosef Masayim Mesifta Diyoma L'Rabanan. So he was going over, and says Rashi Hoya Machsav Shainalahem Mashadarish of Yochanan Osayom. He was explaining where Rav Yochanan was teaching him. Reish Lakish Chacham Gadol Hoya. Reish Lakish was a great Chacham. Well, Achar Sheshama Kulon Mepi Harav Chayzer Mechavna Biyadam. So basically, he would explain what Rabbi Yochanan said. So Amalahu Reish Lakish, and we know Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan are very close. Amalahu Reish Lakish Heicha, where are you from? Basically, Samrulei Amai. So Amalahu Haikushya V'Haikushya V'Haipiruka V'Haipiruka. This is a question. This is the answer. Samrulei Reish Lakish. Also Reish. So Amalei Reish Lakish said to Reish Lakish. Also Reish Lakish Amalei Rav Yochanan. He told Rav Yochanan who he was. That this was Rav Kahana. So he said, Ari Allah mi Bavel. You should know. And Reish Lakish was warning Rav Yochanan that a lion has come from Bavel. L'ayin mar b'misifta. You better be very well prepared tomorrow when you give your class, because you have a lion in your audience. They knew that this was the great Rav Kahana, so they put him in the first row. Rashi says there was actually 7 rows in which the Talmidim used to sit in front of him, one in front of the other. So it was a great honor to be in the front. So he was in the front row. K'mei Rav Yochanan. Omer Shmaisa. So Rav Yochanan said his drasha. Lo akshi Shmaisa. He didn't ask any questions. Lo akshi on chasei v'lo akshi. Anafni achori sheva dari. So they put them back row after row. Ad yosu b'dar batra, until he was finally sitting in the back row, which became almost like a huge embarrassment because he was a great chacham and he shouldn't be all the way in the back. Ari Shamarta, you said that there was a lion, this guy, Nasa Shual. He became a fox. So a fox is not, obviously is not as impressive as a lion, and he's not so great. So this obviously was very humbling and embarrassing to Rav Kahana. Omer, Yehi Rava, may it be Hashem's will, Dahani Sheva Dari, these 7 rows that I humbly had to sit back, let it be instead of the 7 years in which Rav was geyser upon me that I should, I need to go, away and not respond and remain silent. So come Akari, he got on his knees. Amalei Neheder Mar Beresha, so come to the front. Omer Shmaisa V'Yakshi, started asking questions. Okum B'dar Kama, put him in the front. Omer Shmaisa V'Yakshi Rav Yochanan, so V'Yakshi was asking questions. Rav Yochanan Havi Yosef Sheva Bistarke, and it says on the side Karim Ksosles. Rav Yochanan was sitting on 7 cushions and pillows. Shalfilei Chada Bimistarka mitute. Then they would keep removing them from him. Basically, eventually he was sitting without pillows. Omer Shmaisa V'Yashile Ad Deshalfle Kule Bistarke mitute, until all of them were removed. Ad Yosef Al Arn, who's sitting on the ground. Rabbi Yochanan Gavra Sabhava. Now let's understand. Rabbi Yochanan was an older man. Sarche Gavine, this is brought down in Gemara and Tainus as well, that says Rashi, Gabos Ein of Gedolim, he had very thick eyelashes or eyebrows. Armahu Doluli Einai, lift up my eyes, V'achse, so I could see this man Rav Kahana. So Dolule, they lifted up his eyes, and they used B'mich Chalta de Kaspa, these silver forks or something to just help lift up his eyes, some type of a kli. Chaza, he saw de parte saf vase, that his lips were split. he had some type of impediment, or there was something cut in his lip, the way it was made, like over here or something. So Savar, Rav Yochanan thought, Achuch kamachayich be, that he was actually laughing at him. He was like he thought that, oh, look, Rav Kahana thinks I'm not such a chacham, and he was laughing at me. Cholish daiti, he felt bad, v'nach nafshe. And Rav Kahana actually died because of that. Well, Machar Melahu Rav Yochanan Rabbanan Chazisu L'Bavla Heichi Abed. She said, "What's the deal with what happened with this Babylonian that came here?" So Amalei, so they said to him, "Darchi Hachi. This is the way. This is what happened." So Allah gave him Morasa. He went to the cave of Rav Kahana. Chaza Dahava, he saw, as we continue, Kuf Yud Zayin Mebeis, Dahavi Hadra Le Achna. It says Rashi, there was a Nachash Gadol Asa Atzmo Kigalgol. There was like a big snake that was around the cave. Armale Achna Achna, snake. Pasach Pomich, open your mouth. Yichanis Harav Eitzel Talmud, and let the teacher go to the student. Vo pasach, the snake didn't move. Yichanis chaver eitzel chaver, let a friend go to a friend. Lo pasach. Yichanis talmud eitzel harav, let the student, me, Rav Yochanan, go to my teacher, to Rav Kahana. Pasach le, and all of a sudden it opened up its mouth, and it basically opened up the, basically allowed the opening for him to go through. So boy rachme, so Rav Yochanan went there and he asked for mercy, the okme, and he came back to life. Sounds lahavdil al avdalos, very similar to another story. Armale ihaviyadana de darche de marhachi lochoshadaiti. If I would have known that this is your derech, I would not have felt bad. In other words, I didn't realize that you looked this way. Hash delesi mar bahadon. So he said, now why don't you come to us? Come back to Om Hazeh. If you would ask mercy that I'm not going to die again, then fine. I'm not going to go. Since it's already been like my time that I was taken away, let it be. So Tare Ukme. Shali kol sveka dahavile upashtin and hile hindiyam Rav Yochanan dilchain amri dilchain he. So any suffix that he had, he was able to answer, and this is why Rav Yochanan was famous for saying the Torah which we thought we had in Eretz Yisrael, it was really dilchain he. It's really the people in Bavel, namely Rav Kahana, showed that he has more knowledge than the people in Eretz Yisrael. Says Rashi. Visrachish Nisa Cholef, for a miracle to happen, Elich Oid Imcha, I will not go with you. Shema Ticha is alive, almost maybe you'll be angry at me and I'll die. Od Pa'am Acheres, another time. El Elich Labesi, let me go to my house, Chai, Vo Emad Oid Etzelcha, and let me not stand by you anymore. Pen almost Pa'am Acheres, maybe I'll die again by you. The East Mefarish Hoya V'chol Shaita, to kabalti tsar misa will kabel oid pamacheres leilach mekan. So it's so an interesting other interpretation that either let me just go back to my house, or it means since I've already died, I've already died. But this the famous vort of Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, that when it comes to ben adam l'chaveroi, we find that it's just like putting your hand into a fire. That it's just a natural phenomena that your hand is going to get burned. Even if you didn't want to, you didn't intend it to happen. So when it comes to you causing pain to another human being, even if it was unintentional, even if you weren't completely bemazed in your thought process of hurting someone, you're still accountable. So you have to be extremely careful when it comes to ben adam l'chavero. Okay. Nahu de achve tachsa de Rav Abba. So there was a person, going back to what we were saying, he basically was pointing to this takshit meshi, this special type of garment of Rav Abba, and so that someone had taken away from him. So Yosef Rav Avo, Rav Chanina bar Papi, Rav Yitzchak Nafka, these three sages were sitting. Yosef Rav Yilah Gabayu, and Rav Yilah was with him. Sabr l'chayuve, mehadetnan. You would think that actually you would be chayev, because he again was pointing this, and the garment was taken away, and it was basically your doing. After all, it says that none. Ditanan. We saw this before in Daf Kuf. Donas adin zichas achayev chiyavas azakai. When it comes to a judge, timis atahar tiharas atame mashasa asoi. What you did, you did. V'yashal mebeso. But the judge has to pay from his own house. It says Rashi adibor ba'al machayev. Even based on your own words, you're chayev. So too over here, by you pointing out this garment of Rav Abba, so therefore you're chayev to pay him back. All of those cases, it's a very lengthy Rashi, and it says over here, interesting, it says Mekulam Mefarish Shenasim Nasim Biyad Be'echad Dinim Momnus B'Sanhedrin. The truth is, Rashi over there in our Masechta says this too, that each of the cases he actually did a biyad. Either like he took a sheretz and he actually made it tameh. That's one of the cases. What are the other ones done? So basically, the judge mamish made it tameh, where he took tummy things and he mixed it up with tahar things, etc., to demonstrate that it's definitely tahar. So that's the only time you're chayiv. However, just stam pointing, no. So Amrulay Zila Gabi to Rav Shimon ben El Yokum, Rav Elazar ben Padas, go to them. The Daini Din the Garmi. These sages are Dain Din the Garmi. So the fact is, this is a case of being, this is a Garmi, because it's indirect. And if you're Dain Din the Garmi, then you'll be chayiv according to them. So our Mishnah seemingly demonstrates this concept of being done being chayev because they're done din de garmi. Who gav is a person to have a mafkid leikasa de kaspa. He gave as a safekeeping to someone a precious silver goblet. Saliku ganave iluye. Shakla Yavlahu. So they went into this person's house and they took it from him. Question is he chayiv for this cup that was taken? So also made the Rabba in Patre. He said that he's pater the fact that it was taken. Hi matzel atzmim chaverhu. Understand? This person should be chayiv because he's saving his own things by giving up this silver cup. So since if they didn't take the kli, they would have stolen from him. So he should be chayiv. So Elo Omer Rav Ashi, it depends. Chazinan, we investigate. Inish Omidhu, if this is a wealthy person that the guy would have broken into his house anyway, then a day asu. Then they were coming in to steal from him, and therefore you're talking being matzil atzim b'mum chaver, and you be chayiv. However, if you were not rich, so somehow they found out that you were holding the silver cup, they knew that this was the only thing worth of any value in your house, so therefore if they take it, you're going to be potter. Hahu gavra dahavi mafkid gabe arnika de pidyon shvuyin. So this person was holding on to this significant amount of money for redeeming captives. Saliku Ganavi Lehi Shakla. And the Ganavim went into this person's house and took it. And again, he gave it to them. Askami the Rabba and Patre. So he pocketed him for the fact that he gave away all this money. Again, same question. He should be chayiv. Unbelievable line. This is also pidyon shvuyin. So the pidyon shvuyin was supposed to be for some other guy. But the truth is, bandits come into your house, not necessarily only to steal, they could have killed you, they could have done anything to you. So this is also a form of pidyon shvuyin. So you had this person, says Rashi, Machnes Chamaroi Lasfina. He was bringing a donkey onto a boat, Me'aver HaNahar, from the river, V'hayu Nashim, and there were many people that were in proximity. Boy, la'at buye. So it was this donkey was going to sink the boat. Also, who gavra, a person came, moachle lachamra dahu gavra. So someone threw off this donkey into the water, and basically to save everyone's life. V'shadli nahara v'tava, and it went into the river and it drowned. Oskame the Rabba patre. So the person who threw this donkey off the boat is still pater. He's saving his own stuff on this boat because by this donkey. This donkey is mamash a raidif because it's trying to basically cause damages and even maybe kill people. It's not killing people, but of a boat sinking in the middle of the ocean, it's tantamount to it being person being killed by this donkey. And Rabbi Tamed, Yom Rabba, Raidif Shahi Raidif Acha Chavel Hargoi. If you have someone who's running after someone to kill them, Beshiber Asakalim, and you break vessels, Ben Shel near the Ben Shel Kola Adam Potter, Shari Mischai Benavsho. So this person who is the one who's pursuing the Raidif, if he breaks anything in the process, he's going to be potter because he's already Chai Misa, because he's running after someone to kill them. And therefore, if he would break something, the din is that he's going to be potter because he's already Chai Misa, basically, for what he's about to do. Look in Rashi, Shahari Mischai Benafshahu, B'redifa Zu, V'fil Ein Hargoi. Even if he doesn't get killed, but that non beperik ben Saramayra, Ve'elu Nitnu Lahatzel Benafshai, if you're pursuing someone to kill them, there's a chance that that person who you're pursuing or anyone else can kill you. Nimsa tashlumin v'chiyamisa. Never going to be potter if you do any damages. But that's not where we're bringing this down. So as we said, ben shel near the ben shel kol adam potter shemis chabenasho. However, the nirdaf sheshiver as a kalim shel raidif is also potter. The guy who's running away, if he breaks something while he's being pursued to be killed, the reality is his money should not be greater than his body. So, since the person who's being pursued, if he would turn around and kill the guy, so he would be potter. So if he would have destroyed his things, he would also be potter. That's when it comes to the din of the nirdaf. So if the nirdaf breaks the rodif's things, he's going to be potter from paying the raidif because he could have even killed him. Because if you can kill him, we should say but if you, being pursued, break someone else's kli, you're chayiv. The asal hatzam atzmon b'mammon chaver, because you cannot save your money. You can't sell. You're not to save yourself with someone else's money. It doesn't mean you shouldn't, but you're going to be chayiv for it. For raidif shahay raidif achar raidif, let's say you have a raidif who's chasing after a raidif. Raidif shahay raidif achar raidif lohatzil, to save the shibikil bin shel nirda bin shel kol adam potter v'omen hadin el sheim iyata oimer kain ein locha adam shematzil skaver min haraidif. So the idea is that if you see one person chasing after the other one, you should take action and try to save. And therefore, if you break something in the process, we're going to say you're potter. Even the maker din, maybe you should be chayiv. But if we say you're going to be chayiv, what's the incentive of trying to help this person out if at the end of the day I may end up getting punished or having to pay? So too when it comes to this situation, so this donkey is a raidif. So you see this donkey is potentially going to kill others too. So therefore you can step up and destroy their possessions as well, and you're not going to be held liable. Okay, let's see, maybe with this question, TA 15. So there was this donkey. Okay, this is our case over here, which is Kuf Yud Zayin Omid Beis. And he threw the donkey. Rabba says you're potter. So why are you potter? You're matzal atzmam and chaveruhu. So he just answers, Hi Raidafu. Simple, because this donkey is a raidif, and therefore for that reason you are potter. TA 15. So Haimi Yakara raidif havi, and that's it. So since this donkey is a raidif, so therefore you can do whatever it takes to save. TB 16. Nirdef sheshibur kalim shel raidif im chayev. So he said you're going to be potter. Umadin bi'acher ba'alma habol hatzel also potter umatam. So let's see what I wrote. Kuf Yud Zayin Bebeis. Lahatzel es atzmo b'momon chavero hu chayev. Avol lahatzel es acherim b'momon shel acherim potter. It's not really what the answer is. Mene she'im lokain o ein shum adam oise es hatzala b'shvil chavero b'achach l'shalim al hatayva hazos. Okay, that's the answer is the second part. But the near the sheshibur kalim shel raidiv, the reason why you're potter is because, as we said, we should shleihe mamaynu chavav l'gufay. Okay, that's TB 16. And again, it says potter v'omin hadinhu el she'im iyat oimer kain inocha adam shematzel es chaveru min haraidiv. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's see the next mission. Says the Masnisim. Shatva Nahar. Let's say we find that the river, you stole land and the river destroys the property. So you can say, I'm sorry, that's how it happened. Again, we know karkas and an exeles, so I'm not chayiv. Says the Gemara. Tanraban Hagaizel. Let's say you stole land from a friend. Vishatva Nahar, and then the river destroys it, basically. Again, this land is like right by the edge of the water, and it just destroys it, and ends up, all of a sudden, just becomes part of the ocean. Rabbi says, no. Unlike our Mishnah, you have to give him another field. So this is the Mishnah. So what's the machlokas? Rabbi Lezer darshan ribu muti. So it depends how you darshan the pasuk. V'chichesh b'amitai. When it says v'chichesh b'amitai, is a ribui. That's including all forms of treachery. Bibikadayin, a specific item that's for safekeeping, for watching, is a miyat. Kol asher yishba level sheker, any form of lie, cause of a ribui. So ribu miyat riba. When you ever have a ribu miyat riba hakol includes everything. My Rabbi called Mili, includes everything. My miyat shtarais. It's only coming to exclude documents. As Rashi says, she'en gufan mammon. In itself, it does not have monetary value. Okay. Rabbanan darshi klali prati. V'chichesh, again, v'chichesh b'amito is a klal, more general. Bikadain is a prat. And then o mikol is chaz v'kolol. So instead of miyat, riboy, miyat, Rebo rather, we have a claw prat, a claw. Claw prat, a claw, you have to look in a prat. Marprat, davar hamatalta v'gufa mamoin. It has to be mataltalan, and something which in itself has money. I've called davar hamatalta v'gufa mamoin. So therefore, unlike the first opinion, this is yatzush karkais. Excludes lands. Shem mataltalan. It's not land, it's not mataltalan. Yatzu avadim shukshul karkais. That according to some shitas, an eved is comparable to land. So they both agree when it comes to shtaros. The question is, does that also exclude land and avadim? Vaha desanya, that which we learn, hagaizel is a para. You stole a cow, bishatva nahar, and the river swept it away. Chayav l'hamid para. You have to provide another cow because it's metaltal. It makes sense. You can even say by a cow harshal v'necha. So over there, but my kamiflagi. I understand what are they arguing about? Because that's metaltal, so why would they argue there by a para? So Amar Papa hasam b'ma'askin hasam over there by ma'askin we're talking about again shigazel sadam chavero, that you stole actually a field. V'haisa, as we continue to kuf yud ches amid aleph. On the field, there was a par revutzaboy. There was a cow that was crouched down, vishatfa nahar, and the river swept the cow away. Says the Gemara, says Rashi, he never did any kinyan on this par. It was just like lying there. So it's like comparable to the land itself. That a field could be stolen. You actually do acquire the cow. The chayv shalim, and you have to pay. The metalto and niknan agav karka, because we know there's a kinyan agav. You can be kind of metaltoin through the karka if the metaltoin is on it. We don't really require seaborn, as Gemara Kedushin says, but here the animal is on it. Since you weren't kind of the field, because it's not, you can't steal it, so you can't be kind of field, so therefore you can't be kind of the animal. You can only be kind of if you actually did Mashiach, but since you didn't, you're not going to be high for that either. Okay, let's see question 3. So again, it's whether or not the din of karka is nigzelas. And therefore, he says, if the land was stolen and there was a cow which was revut sabah, so according to Rabbi Lezer, the karka nigzelas, so therefore you stole the land, and therefore you're also a kind of through kinyan agav the cow, so you have the cow. The Chachamim say that karka cannot be stolen, therefore you're not responsible for the cow either. Okay, nothing on TA, this, and Adkan.